Arizona Cardinals. Red Sea, rise up. Los Angeles Rams. Let's go, Ramley. Seattle Seahawks. Let's go, 12, get loud. San Francisco 49ers. Home of the faithful. Quest for the West.
And we're here. The gang is together. The Quest for the West is live, and we got a very interesting conversation and a lot of things to talk about this week because a lot of things happened. The 49ers finally got a big fat W. The Seattle Seahawks absolutely took it to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Rams did Rams things to the poor Houston Texans, who are just not a very good football team. And the Arizona Cardinals let one slip away, but I think there's bigger news going on with Arizona than just that. Let's start there, Evan, because what's going on with the Cardinals actually affects everybody else in this conference. It affects Sam's Seattle Seahawks, it affects Los Angeles Rams, and it affects the 49ers. Kyler Murray, ankle sprain, J.J. Watt, shoulder stuff, out for the year. What's happening?
So I've been telling you every single week that I'm getting on this show, man, I'm just waiting for the other foot to drop. 6-0 or 7-0 start only guarantees you 7-10. I remained humble for a reason, and it was exactly for this reason. The JJ Watt thing is very interesting because nobody knew he was hurt. He's walking off the field, smiling against the Texans with D-Hop, and everything is fine, right? Get the news Tuesday, he's going to miss the game Thursday. Get the news Wednesday, he's out for the year. Thursday morning comes along, game day for the Cardinals last week, and he's going to get a second opinion. We haven't heard anything about a second opinion. He hasn't been put on IR yet. There's a lot of chatter and weird things going on saying he's going to try and play through it. Nothing has been official yet. So a lot of hold your breath and wait scenarios for the Arizona Cardinals. As far as Kyler Murray is concerned, a lot of chatter and everything that I've heard in a couple of podcasts and insiders, everybody thinks he's probably going to sit out this week against your 49ers. But again, wait and see. On the positive side, we do get back Rodney Hudson, our all-pro center from last year and the year before. So that's going to be a huge, huge win for the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. So a lot of weird things, but a lot of news.
Absolutely. Sam, does this how big of an impact is this, just for Seattle as well? You guys now going into a bye, you're getting your quarterback back. Arizona going up against San Francisco, losing their quarterback. You feeling more comfortable about, you guys potentially, if things go awry here over the next few weeks for the Cardinals, having an opportunity to still be in this thing and in the hunt?
It's a very optimistic week for Seahawks fans, considering we're coming off of a big time win. We have Chris Carson, who will be coming back to play Green Bay in week 10. Russell Wilson will hopefully be coming back. It's like some people are saying like, oh yeah, he's going to play. He got the pin out at a really good time. He's on a really good pace. Other people are still like, but it's Russell Wilson. The doctors might not clear him until he's fully ready. It's something that's going to be kind of tough, and we don't really know where that's going to end up. So I would pretty much say that it's almost a guarantee that Russ will play week 11, but week 10 is still kind of up in the air to see whether he'll play after this bye week. But we're getting back Dwayne Eskridge. We're getting back Chris Carson, and with the team coming off a huge win, as in both meaningful and by a lot of points, it's very important just overall this bye week is to get confidence, get some guys back who are very, very important to the team, and just try to get back rolling and playing good football like we saw in week 1 when the entire team was healthy and there was pretty much nobody of really any big implications that was injured. So very important for us and get back. And obviously with Kyler Murray maybe being a little banged up, I assume they'll probably play through it, just considering where everybody's at NFC West. I assume that Kyler Murray will probably play through it, just, because it's that kind of thing. But JJ Watt, especially for a Seahawks fan, our offensive line, doesn't have a great reputation. So to be able to not have to play, fingers crossed, not have to play JJ Watt and Chandler Jones, it's pretty good news for me, I'd say. But he's like you said, he still might play. From what I heard from Ian Rappaport, he's like torn pec, torn labrum, dislocated shoulder. Like he's saying like he was like naming off of like all serious upper arm shoulder injuries, and like it was kind of crazy. But yeah, big week, like you said, for us, and a big win on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of things going on with all these teams. Seattle now looks like they may be getting some guys back and getting healthy at the right time. Rams made a huge move this week. Pretty big. Gave up some draft capital. I mean, you're talking they're going now into next year's draft, the 2022 draft now. Sam, we joked with you the very first week of the show about how Seattle sat and watched everybody else have a fun draft while they didn't take anyone until very late in the draft now, right? The Rams are in this boat. I think they have 3 or 4 total picks. The move for Von Miller, what was your guys' instant reaction? Evan, start with you. You guys made the offseason move for J.J. Watt. You paired him up with Chandler Jones, Marcus Golden out there, the young linebacker that you drafted as well, and Zaven Collins. You guys really put that emphasis into the defense. Rams basically rolled with their unit, lost some players, and have now made this big move for Von Miller. Is this the best D-line in the NFC West?
With Chandler Jones, with J.J. Watt out, I would say you absolutely. But I question how much Von Miller does have in the tank just because of the age thing. And I love how Sam just grouped J.J. Watt in with Chandler Jones, because I think we're better off with Chandler Jones not playing. We didn't miss his pass rush last year.
Ooh.
Other than the very first game this year, he didn't register a sack. Last week, didn't even register a hurry. I think we are better off without him. Now, is he a talent? Is he good? Yeah, we can talk about all that stuff. But considering the money that it's going to take to keep him there and the production that we are getting, I'd say hard pass. I'd rather go heavy defensive line at that point or heavy offensive line. But that is just me. But when I heard of Von Miller going there, I questioned it just because of the age, how much he does have left. And, what is it? The Achilles injury that he had X amount of years ago definitely seemed to slow him down. At the same time, it's like the 2011 Heat, you got 3 absolute studs, one on each level. If you can have a stud in the D line, stud in the linebacker core, and then a stud in the defensive backfield, wherever it is, you're going to run into a lot of good things if you're a fan of that team. So damn, sucks for all of us, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Sam, reactions, what were they?
I had a very similar instant reaction to like, is this the move that the Rams really needed? Like, is this what the Rams, like, did they need sacks when you have Aaron Donald on the line of scrimmage? I mean, the draft capital for me was immediately questionable with 2nd and 3rd round pick for a guy who's on an expiring deal, is very expensive, and is very injury prone. Yikes, right? It's a yikes. And a lot of those things don't really seem to match up with the draft capital they gave up. So I was very much questionable of the move. And I don't think it's really the best move for the Rams. Obviously it's kind of a wait and see thing. A lot of times guys get traded, change the scenery or maybe change the scheme, and they kind of, have this breakout. I don't really know. It's kind of scary on paper. Maybe 3 years ago it was scary on paper. Now it's just like, okay, so they have Von Miller now on the outside rushing with Aaron Donald, which is, it's scary, but like, it's not like, I feel like it's not like, oh my God, this is the move that's going to win them the NFC West kind of reaction. That's what I got from it.
I mean, look, I get all those reactions. I get what you're saying there. I definitely get what Evan's saying as well with this Von Miller move. Yeah, the coming off the Achilles stuff is definitely a big question. It's a big concern. The other big thing is the fact that you have a situation right now with them where they've given up so much capital now. And like you said, for a rental, for a guy who's just gonna be there potentially this season, and Good luck trying to sign him next season. This seems to be a move that they consistently make. These are things that the Rams consistently do. Think about the Jared Goff contract, the big Todd Gurley contract, knowing what they knew already about the knee. This has happened consistently. This is something that they've done consistently. And I part of me wants to truly believe deep down that they've maybe addressed how they go about making these big decisions and these big moves, but I don't know. And, only time's going to really tell. The only good news is that both what Aaron Donald brings to the table already for your D-line and what Von Miller brings to a D-line in the pass rush, they should, in theory, be able to help each other. Aaron Donald should be seeing less attention because you have Von Miller. Von Miller should be able to thrive a little bit more than maybe what he was dealing with there in Denver. It could be a change of scenery situation, but it's a risk. It's definitely a risk no matter what. And they're all in. It's very obvious right now. The Rams are all in with the group that they have. They added another piece because they know they know the one thing that a lot of the other teams knew. It's exactly what the Cardinals have known, right? You guys, Seattle went in the offseason and went and got a guy in Kerry Hyder who had a good numbers and produced for San Francisco 49ers in 2020. It's all about right now being able to rush the passer. It's about getting after the quarterback, right? Tom Brady, when you can get after him, look what the Saints did. Patrick Mahomes, when you can get after him, look how much he's struggling out there with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they look like a completely different offense. So the Rams are doing what they need to do to be able to get after the quarterback at what they believe will be a high level. We'll see if it pays off for him. But look, we had a first this week. We did have a first this week, and the first wasn't an Arizona Cardinals loss, although that was a first. We had the Rams, we had the Seahawks, and the 49ers all win a game while the Arizona Cardinals lost all in the same week. The Rams obviously trounce a very, very, very poor Texans team. And I don't think that's shocked any of us. I think, Sam, you were feeling that way. I know I was. Definitely know Evan was, especially after their trouncing of them the week before. But you guys were going on a very, very high level here and working at a very high level. So Sam, what happened? What happened in this game? Seattle, Jacksonville, a game where you guys needed a big win. The Cutback crew here on our channel, it was 51% for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had no faith in the Seattle Seahawks going up against this team. They thought maybe they were coming off a big win, the big London trip. They're coming off a bye. Maybe Urban Meyer's got the right kind of grind mindset now instead of the grind mindset he's been on at bars in Ohio. And so maybe, you guys are going to not be able to get this done, but you did. You got it done. You took care of it. What went right? What didn't go right? Or what did you hate or not hate from this game?
I mean, really, this game was just, it was maybe the most complete game that the Seahawks have played in a long time in the grand scheme of things. If you just look at the game, I mean, Geno Smith pushed the ball downfield and attacked what were some pretty poor Jacksonville corners, which was something that he had not done at all. And he made some really tough, tight window throws that I think were like, I'm watching this game and I'm like, oh man, this is Geno Smith. Geno Smith seems to have found himself after a game last week where he threw for 100 yards and really had a touchdown to DK, which was kind of just like Marshawn Lattimore. He can't tackle, so DK is just going to run 84 yards for a touchdown. I was like, Geno Smith is playing really good football. And I never thought that I would say that as a fan of the Seahawks. I never thought that I'd have to sit in this chair and be like, hey, Geno Smith had a really, really good game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he did. And everything just clicked. We threw the ball to 4 people. All but 3 were to players not named DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, which is the offensive strategy that if it works, it works, So, I mean, if you have receivers like that, give them the ball. And Geno Smith finally seemed to realize I have 2 potentially top 15 wide receivers on either side of me. Why am I not throwing the ball to these people? He threw the ball to him, and Tyler Lockett had his best game since week 2. So really just a really good overall game. Trey Brown, the rookie out of Oklahoma, he came off of the IR and he's played really, really good football at that left corner position. And it seems like he's solidified the starting spot. he really hasn't been tested that much, which is why I'm interested to see him go up against Green Bay, where chances are Green Bay will try to set up a lot of looks with him versus Davante Adams, which is something that's going to be very interesting to see. But Trey Brown is playing really good football. The defense has really picked it up in Geno's absence. In Russ's absence and Geno's starting. So we played a really complete game. I'm very happy with it. It's a great confidence booster leading into what is a very important game in Green Bay in week 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Both the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks now, every game feels that way. Every game feels like it could be the end of your season if you drop one. So every week is going to be important, but it's even bigger for you guys because if you don't have Russ that week also, you're going to have to rely on Geno to get it done against that Packers defense and a cornerback over there in Eric Stokes, who's actually been playing up to par also. Evan, Cardinals, not good things. Thursday night,
Yeah.
little iffy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy to see it happen, but I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all, especially with no Davante Adams, especially with no Allen Lazard. What happened, dude?
Do I have to talk about it?
A little bit. A little bit. You gotta let us enjoy a little bit of the suffering.
Honestly, I've stayed away from a lot of podcasts over the weekend. Not only, bad things there. My Arizona State Sun Devils are absolutely horrid right now. So I just kind of stayed away from sports but the last few days. But from the things that I have heard over the past few days, that was by far their sloppiest game that they played all year, which is surprising considering Cliff Kingsbury even came out before the Houston game and said, I'm already working on Green Bay. So I thought, he had all these packages drawn up and this and that, and all these things were going to happen. But we actually started seeing, I don't want to say it's the demise of the Arizona Cardinals, but that's honestly the way I feel. Without JJ Watt on that defensive line, we got manhandled up front. Green Bay absolutely controlled the clock the entire game. They controlled ball possession. They did whatever they wanted to do on us, and we couldn't do anything about it. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. Didn't matter. Conversion after conversion after conversion. On the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray didn't have a clean pocket all night. Anytime he was clean to throw was when he was escaping or doing something outside of the pocket. So Rodney Hudson coming back is absolutely huge, especially against your front. But the things that I saw about the both lines, it just really concerned me about everything about this team moving forward. We can talk about the defensive backs, how great they've been. We can talk about the receivers, which also DeAndre Hopkins and a hamstring. We have no idea what's going on with him. I say sit him. With a hammy, you never know what's going to happen. If it's going to flare up again on you, just get worse and never heal. So I say sit him. But there's a lot of concerning things going on in Arizona right now. And unfortunately, we play arguably the best defensive line in the NFC West. So we'll see what happens. But this is kind of your guys' chance right here. This is a win you guys have to have. If we escape with Colt McCoy, it's kind of over for you guys, unfortunately.
It becomes Ant and I aren't in the boat yet where we both think if you lose to Arizona, it's over. But you have to win one of your next two. You have Arizona and you have the Rams. So if you lose to Arizona, you have to beat the Rams, and that's a much tougher get right now than you guys. You
have to go 3-3 in this division minimum if you want to win or get into the playoffs. So if you guys are, you would be 0-4 at that point.
Yeah, that's not.
You don't own the tiebreakers or nothing. Yeah,
no, you own no tiebreakers. You're playing from behind the 8 ball, and no, you're right. This is the one thing I thought going into that game against Arizona and Sam, or against Green Bay, for you guys. And I think Sam and I talked about it a little bit as well last week before we had you on too. I felt the run game was the only way Green Bay was going to find a way to have consistent offensive success and find a formula to beat you guys with no Davante Adams. And they did it, man. They absolutely did it. When I heard the JJ Watt news, I remember turning to Ant. We were sitting here doing the podcast. The news broke. We were recording an episode. I looked at it and I was like, dude, that could actually open the door for the Packers to win. What? That's crazy. But the reality is, right, that interior, outside of JJ was doing phenomenal things on film. against the run. The
He
way
was
he was able to
opening
set
everything up for everybody. Not only that, the pressure that he was getting. So he wasn't making tackles or getting the QB hits or nothing like that, but he was moving the pocket. He was enclosing it on you. He made you go the other way. He was opening it up for everybody else, which is again why I'm so pissed off at Chandler Jones. You're not saying anything about Chandler Jones. He's the highest paid dude on that defense. Come on, Chandler. He needs to step up.
spicy.
Yeah, our defensive line and our sack output last year with Hassan Reddick and Golden and all them was just as good, if not better, without Chandler Jones. So again, this money that we need to pay Chandler Jones out to, it can go somewhere else. We need defensive line help.
Oh my goodness gracious, Sam! Did you expect to hear that today?
That would be like me coming out and saying our offense was just as good without Tyler Lockett. So I say we just don't start him anymore.
Well, I mean, here's one thing though. You got to give. There is one difference there, and that is Tyler Lockett actually did a lot of great things through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Chandler Jones had he had a pretty solid week 1, didn't he?
5 sacks, week 1.
What is he at 5 for the season still?
He's at 5 for the season, my man.
Oh
wow.
No.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
And Nick Bosa had 1 week where he didn't record a sack and people lost their mind. I can only imagine when
he had
7
one
weeks of no
tackle
other
last
sacks.
week. Our star outside linebacker had 1 tackle, no hurries. And you really want to pay this man X amount of dollars? Like that's not how this goes, man.
And it doesn't help him with potentially wanting a trade or leaving after the season. This is not helping him at all.
And listen, he played 5 games last year, 6 games this year. Outside of that 1 game, so in the last 10 games, he has 1 sack.
Okay. I mean, you have a point there. I hadn't looked at dived that deep. I saw the 5 sacks week 1. I was like, Chandler Jones is still Chandler Jones. But you're not feeling that way, and the numbers back you. They definitely back you in that category, my guy. Look,
Absolutely.
the 49ers love hearing this. The Cutback crew enjoys hearing this. They love hearing this about what's going on with the Cardinals because we got you guys this week, and you're coming off of a big win for the 49ers after dropping 4 straight, coming into Chicago. Jimmy, his homecoming, he's going back to where he grew up and played in his roots and where he played his college ball, and he's got 100 families and friends in the stands, and he's throwing for 300 plus yards. And I'm watching the game and being like, that's the aura. There's the 2017 Jimmy Garoppolo aura right there when he first came to San Francisco and started his first game and got a big fat W, and then we won 5 straight to end the season. And everyone was like, oh my God, it's the future. Look how bright the future is. I almost can't look at it. Not only is he good looking, but the aura radiating off this man is incredible. That's what it felt like a little bit on this last Sunday with Jimmy, the way he played and what he did. So 49ers fans, I know here on the Cutback, we're all extremely excited about that. The question will always be with Jimmy Garoppolo, will he be healthy enough and can he play consistently enough to continue that momentum? I think the best thing about Jimmy Garoppolo is that he tends to thrive when his back's against the wall. That seems to be a common theme. Whenever there's really a lot of pressure on him, he tends to step up and play really, really well and play at a higher level. And I think he's kind of recaptured that. I think he realizes he's accepted what's going on here in San Francisco and what the writing on the wall is, right? At the end of the year, he's going to be moving on and going somewhere else. And he is now fighting for this team and fighting for his future potential in the league as a starter and someone that's going to value him and want to pay him some money down the road as well. But the Niners needed this, and they needed this huge. They needed this win specifically, coming off of a terrible loss to the Colts, a game that you had in your hands as well. Now you get a very battered and deflated Arizona, who definitely is going to want to bounce back and get a win. By no means are you guys just going to roll over and be like, well, season's over at 7-1.
Well, we did last year.
I didn't want to say it.
We did last year.
I didn't want to say it, man.
But doesn't this all kind of go back to my first podcast with you and talking about Cliff Kingsbury and not fully trusting him and all that stuff? So now we're going to see. Now it's on Cliff. I mean, I feel like, the guys are going to go out there and perform at their level. Now it's on Cliff.
I got to ask you this now. I have to ask. Do you feel like the walls are caving in and that this team is going to implode? Does it feel that way, or do you still feel extremely confident at 7-1 that you guys are going to turn this around, even if you lose one this week, right? And let's say you lose a couple more before you get to your bye. even if you guys go into your bye with 8 or 9 wins, a few losses, do you feel like the season's going to implode, or do you feel like you guys can hold steady?
I feel like they have the personnel to be able to do that, but I just got to see one more game. We got to see how are they going to respond. And that's what the big test about this week is. Even if we lose this game, they've got to show fight, heart, effort, all that stuff, because towards the end of last season against the Rams, it was against you guys.
Yep.
We played at home, but it was an away game because of the COVID stuff and all that. But week 16, you guys beat us, the Rams beat us, and there was no fight. There was absolutely no dog in the fight. So we have to see it on the field. So if they show up and play exactly as they did against the Packers, even with all the talent they have, we're going to have a very different conversation next Tuesday.
Oh boy, man. I'm hoping for you and the Arizona Cardinals fan base that isn't the case. I really do.
It'll make good content for your show, though.
That's technically not inaccurate. I'm not gonna sit here and complain about it. That's for sure. But the Niners need this. They need this big time. The only good news for San Francisco is the cavalry is 100% coming back. Jeff Wilson, practice window open. George Kittle, practice window open. Robbie Gould, practice window open. They are getting a host of, Trey Greenlaw. He has, I think, one more test that he has to pass. They are hoping to open his practice window. I think they were hoping to open it today, so we'll see what's going on. So you may be getting Dre Greenlaw back. Aziz clears concussion protocol. D Ford clears concussion protocol, and you have a swarm of San Francisco 49ers back into the lineup. I feel like this team is definitely feeling pretty solid right now. But we're not the only team in the NFC West that's getting guys back. Seattle is going to be doing the same thing here as well. Sam, what are your outlooks for this second half of the season for you guys? You got the bye this week. The opponent's coming up. Can the Seattle Seahawks make a run?
I really think we can. And the major thing is when Russ comes back, will the defense continue to play like they have to play, like they had to play with Geno Smith? The defense had this mindset of, we have to play really, really well because Geno Smith is only going to put up like 10 to 20 points in that range. So this defense came out and they had a fire and they played with energy. And in the last 3 weeks, we've gone from once again, one of the worst defenses in NFL history to we're not that bad, and we've really been good at stopping teams when we are tested, like on 4th and 3rd down, which is something that we were absolutely atrocious at last year. We've been very much improved this year at doing that. And it really appeared in Jacksonville last week, where I think we stopped them on 6 4th downs. And it was crazy. So our defense stepped up big time. But now when Russ coming back, it can't be that, Russ is just going to have to bail us out again. It has to be, we have to come out with that exact same fire, that exact same passion that we did, and play on point and as a team. And if Russ comes back and can play good football, even with his finger, which, is on his throwing hand, so you never know how that's going to affect it. Maybe the ball will fly a little bit different now. It's a little bit up in the air. But if Russ can come back and play like how he was before he got hurt, which was as a underrated MVP dark horse, because nobody really been talking about it because he didn't put up video game numbers, but he'd only thrown 1 interception, I believe 10 touchdowns by the time he got hurt. So Russ played really well. We're getting Chris Carson back, who was playing maybe some of the best football of his career before he got hurt. We're getting Dwayne Eskridge back, who brings much more versatility and was our 2nd round pick this year. This could really spark something here, but we need the defense to continue to play like how they were. And that's really going to be the main key for us going forward.
Evan, of the 2 teams up top here, of the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, if you had to put money on one, just one, to make a run and get in, who is it?
It would be the 49ers for me, because I don't know if I trust Seattle's defense, but if they do exactly as Sam says, again, we're going to have a different conversation in another week or two. But, a lot of that does depend on Russ Wilson to a point. I mean, at the end of the day, dude had a pin in his finger, so you just don't know what kind of effect that has on him. But it's Russell Wilson. He's a different breed. But as of right now, I would say the 49ers by a slim margin.
And surprisingly, I would also say the 49ers by a slim margin. Shocked, I know, guys.
Mute yourself. Good Lord.
Look, I have to feel that the addition of Dre Greenlaw is going to change the way we play against the run. It's going to also change the way we play against 2 tight end sets, something that Seattle did to us a lot. Arizona came out and did to us surprisingly a lot. We weren't expecting it. We thought Cliff Kingsbury would be too afraid to get guys off the field, but he was willing to do it early and often against San Francisco. And whenever teams would go those 2 tight end sets, man, the Niners just struggled. Marcel Harris is okay against the pass, and he's not a great fit against run fits and run schemes. And so it's just hard. It's just hard when he's on the field. Getting Dre Greenlaw back with Azeez al-Shaair should help Fred Warner immensely as well, who's been getting a lot of attention in the middle. A lot of teams getting up to second level and really trying to get Fred off of his path, unable to get into the backfield and get tackles for loss or get pressures. A lot of attention being paid to him. So I feel like the additions and the guys are getting back right now bode well for San Francisco. We seem to be getting the right teams at the right time as well. We got you guys dealing with injuries in Kyler, as well as, the Tennessee Titans now. No Derrick Henry. Tannehill going to be struggling, going to be dinged up as well. It's going to open up some doors for the 49ers to be able to attack a little bit later in the season that were games that people were feeling less confident about. And then the Bungles obviously bungling to the Jets and just completely flipping the script on what football team they are. We got them in a few weeks. 49ers fans are like, that's a loss. That's a loss. And then you lose to the Jets and you're like, well, maybe, I guess not. Maybe not. Who knows? Any given Sunday, guys. I agree with you. Sam, I got to ask you this, though. I just put Evan on the hot seat. Let's put you back into that hot seat now. Let's flip roles of the 2 teams down there, the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. The 2 teams right now that are sitting 7-1, right? Only 1 loss in the division, or no loss in the division for the Arizona Cardinals, but 1 loss in the division for the Rams. Who's coming out on top in the NFC West?
And I do agree with where Evan was pointing there. I have to say the LA Rams for a couple of reasons. A, the Cardinals just lost a major part of their defense to JJ Watt, who realistically, besides Chandler Jones, he's the only truly, really, really experienced veteran on that defense who can kind of command the entire defense and rally around him. And he brings such a presence, a leadership to a team that when you lose that on the field, it might make a big difference. And he, like you said, he was playing really good football. He really was. And I remember watching some of these games and I'm like, JJ Watt, I didn't think he was going to be this good. I thought he was going to be pretty good. I didn't think he was going to be this good. He's been that good. So that's a huge loss. And the Rams just gained Von Miller, who will be seeing a lot more one-on-one matchups with tackles now. So
they're going to put him and Aaron Donald next to each other. They have to. Because just going to stick them next to each other.
Every team automatically is going to double team Aaron Donald, just kind of by definition, because Aaron Donald is that guy. But Von Miller will be seeing a lot more one-on-one looks with tackles, and he'll be making tackles look silly, I'm sure, especially versus the Seahawks, because that's just how it goes. And the final thing for me with the Rams is that Evan talked about how you don't know how this team's going to respond. The main question about me for the Cardinals recently, with them winning and them playing really good football, is when the bleep hits the fan, how are they going to respond with how young their coach is and how relatively inexperienced their coach is, how relatively inexperienced their quarterback is. And now that you lost JJ Watt, what does that mean? And if they lose back to back here, we're talking about a young football team who's currently kind of without a major leader in the locker room that's suiting up every game and an inexperienced coach. What happens if you lose 2 in a row and the Rams win 1 and now they're over you, and all of a sudden you went from 7-0 and the big guy in the division to now all of a sudden, wait, the Rams are already above us? What happened? We were just there a couple weeks ago. This is big, and I picked the Rams just because it seems that overall, with this most recent week and with so many guys getting hurt for the Cardinals and some tribulations going on in that building, I have to take the Rams with how well they've been playing and their experience and what they have over the Cardinals, which is guys who've been there. They've done that and they've won real games. And that's really all I have to say about that whole thing with the Cardinals and the Rams.
Hey, real
Look,
quick, if
go ahead.
if the Cardinals come out and they do stomp the 49ers 35-13, I don't know what it is. We're all gonna look really silly on this podcast.
Yeah.
Except for one person, this guy, because I'm not ready to crown the Rams yet. I'm not ready to do that. Look,
Neither am
it's
I.
one loss. It's one loss. It is one loss. It was a bad loss. It was a bad situation for the Arizona Cardinals. However, they did go through this last year, and I'm a firm believer, right, in climbing that ladder, that you have to go through adversity in order to understand. You got off to a hot start last year. You completely imploded as a team and an organization, and they all were on the same page. Not this year. We're not that team. We're not that team. They've made moves to address that. They have done things to improve those things. And up until recently, right, Cliff Kingsbury's been doing a pretty good job, Evan, according to you. You've been saying he's been surprising you. This could be a year where they've learned their lesson and they've learned enough things to not at least implode. Do I think that the Rams right now have the easiest path to the NFC West? 100% yes. If you guys I feel are neck and neck and the Rams are slowly starting to pull as we get to that halfway point, they're starting to get a little bit of a lead on you guys, but it's still way too early in the year and the season for anything to happen. And what do we know about Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford is another quarterback who is injury prone and has already done some damage on that thumb already this year. You know, it's going to take one game against one of these fronts, whether that's the Niners, whether that's Seattle getting pressure with Bobby Wagner, whether that's you guys on the outside of the edge rush or doing some more creative things with blitzes and things of that nature, you know, or another team that they have to play, getting some pressure, their O-line not having the kind of game that they need to have. They force Matt Stafford to drop back 50 times. He has to throw the ball. It's going to take one hit completely changed the momentum. Seattle dealt with that against Los Angeles. The one hit to Russ and the freak shot to Russ's finger as he's throwing and following through on a pass. You guys last week with Kyler Murray. Jimmy Garoppolo 2 weeks ago on an opening drive in which he methodically moved the Niners down the field against Seattle, gets kneed in the back of his calf by Kerry frickin' Hyder. Thank you, Kerry, on the way out. Giving him a contusion, and as soon as Jimmy Garoppolo loses his lower half, he is not the same as a quarterback. But I mean, all of the teams in the NFC West right now are going to be dealing with most likely a quarterback missing some time, except for the Rams. You have to think at some point their comeuppance is going to happen as well, and that Matt Stafford isn't going to be able to maybe, you know, tough it out the whole season, all 17 games.
In the NFL, when you win a game, you feel like you'll never lose. And when you lose a game, you feel like you're never going to win.
Yeah, the 49ers fan base is echoing that sentiment right now because that's what it's been like for 4 weeks, man. We're never going to win. It's time to sell the season, sell the whole team, fire the head coach. It's time to move on. It's time to blow it all up. But look, I do agree with you guys. The NFC West just got really interesting. You know, a few weeks ago when we did this, we had this Quest for the West episode, we were talking about how the Cardinals are starting to separate themselves. They were really separating themselves from the rest of the NFC West. And yes, the Rams were close, but they were clawing. They were fighting to keep themselves in it. And now it feels like it's a wide open race at the top. And it's a fairly open race here, even at the bottom. If the Niners are able to put a couple together here, if they beat the Cardinals and beat the Rams, both of you guys are sitting there with 2 losses, and both of our teams potentially could only be a game or 2 games back from both of you. And again, conference games are always tough. We know each other inside and out.
And with Jameis Winston also going out, I think that also opens up the door for additional playoff team, because other than, I mean, you've got the 4 division leaders, right? And then you've got the Rams. So that's 5. Who's the 6 and the 7 team? I mean, why not all of them come out of the NFC West? Why not?
I'll do it.
It's really not that crazy if you consider that if the 49ers and the Seahawks get healthy at the right time and really hit their stride and win 3, 4, 5 games in a row. I mean, if the Seahawks go on like a 3-game win streak, all of a sudden they have a winning record and can maybe be right there in the playoff, in that playoff talk. So it's really interesting to see just with the grand scheme of things.
Just think about it too. All of our teams play the NFC North, and you're talking Bears and Vikings also, and the Packers. You know, they're probably going to win. But if you can beat the Bears and the Vikings, all of a sudden you've got the tiebreaker over those teams as well too. We play the Panthers after we play the 49ers, and we get the tiebreaker with them. Saints might fall off a little bit. They're 5-2, yes, but you would expect them not to be able to keep it up. So there is definitely potential for all of these teams to at least be able to sniff the playoffs and come out on the other side.
It's looking like 9-8 is a possibility right now. 9-8 could get you that 7th seed. You know, if you really look at that, Seattle, you got to win 6 games. 6 games to get there if you're the 49ers.
3 of them, we play the Lions, Bears, and Texans. 3 very winnable games. So
and
then
see,
you just...
that changes everything, right? The Texans injuries changes everything because it opens up an avenue for you to get a guaranteed, almost a guaranteed wins.
Without Derrick Henry.
Which...
Titans with no Derrick Henry, Texans and what's been going on there with everything with that team. You have the Bengals who are hot and cold.
I mean, and you guys play the Falcons and the Falcons.
Jags. And the Jags. I mean, the Niners have a nice second half of this schedule to get themselves to that 9-win mark. And Seattle it's not even crazy to think that they could get 9 or 10 wins. We could be sitting in a situation where you get all 4 teams in the NFC West. Sam said it early in the season. You and I are both like, that would be great and nuts and crazy. And then things took a turn for the worst early in the season for both of our teams. And now things are starting to look a little bit up.
Legitimately, as of right now, if the playoffs started today, the Packers will obviously get the bye, and the Buccaneers would play the Rams, and we're over here and we would play either the Saints or like the Panthers right now. So
that's crazy.
So it's sometimes it's a good thing that you're not the number 1 seed, you know, or the number 3 seed. A lot of football to be played, man. A lot of football.
And anything can happen at any given time. And that's the greatest thing about football. You never know when somebody's going to step up or when a team's going to go hot or cold. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see. And it's going to be really fun to watch because I also remember that the Seahawks played Washington in that span.
Yep.
Meaning that should be 4 wins right there.
Definitely
that should be 4
keyword.
wins.
Definitely keyword should. It always is a should right now, especially with the way our 2 teams have been playing at the moment. But hey, it's fine. It's A-okay. The quest for the West took a weird turn this week. The doors kind of opened up for a lot of things to happen, whether that's the Rams, both of you willing to give them the crown right now as the top spot in the NFC West. And I don't blame you. They're definitely momentum's rolling and flowing their way. Arizona trying to stave off a hungry 49ers team. The 49ers trying to make it 2 in a row for the second time all season. And Seattle getting a nice week to just sit, relax, get healthy, soak up and enjoy their win as they prepare for everything that's to come the second half of this season. And then, you got the Rams this week who are getting themselves an interesting game with the Tennessee Titans and potentially no Ryan Tannehill and potentially no Derrick Henry. So good for them. I guess you get a good Von Miller test this week to see where he's really at with no Tannehill and no Derrick Henry. How nice of them.
Yeah, yep. I mean, this is going to be the greatest documentary ever when the season ends. It's going to be the greatest documentary ever. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Definitely going to be interesting. Sam, let them know where they can find you guys again.
You can find me on YouTube or on wherever you get your podcasts at the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. We do game recaps and all that. So if you guys are interested in Seahawks content, go check it out.
Absolutely. And Evan, let them know where they can find the He's on Fire podcast.
At Coach Evan B is my personal one, and at He's on Fire podcast. You can catch us on Twitter. We interact a lot on there, but then also YouTube and wherever you find your podcast as well, covering all things Arizona sports, Arizona Cardinals, the Phoenix Suns, Arizona State Sun Devils, and we'll play some crickets in the background for the Coyotes and the Diamondbacks every once in a while.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit of love, but you're covering everything over there. It's nice.
Absolutely.
Always fun having the both of you on. Very interesting week indeed. We'll see where week 9 takes everybody. The quest for the West is actually heating up. I say it at the end of every episode, but now it's actually the case. It's hot. It's boiling. A lot of things happening. A lot of changes could be coming your way. Stick tuned, and we'll see you next week.